What's up, meta nerds? This complete breakdown of the Crab Droid, or the LM-432, will pull from every resource available to understand its backstory, how it worked, its history, and behind-the-scenes facts. The CIS is easily the military with the most diverse units in history, from the many varieties of troopers, dozens in total of B-1s, B-2s, and more, to things like the enormous walkers in the form of the OG-9 and Octoptara. The LM-432 would fit in as a highly specialized unit with an average height of 1.49 meters, or 4 feet 11 inches, about a foot shorter than the B-1, and 2 feet taller than an astromech, while having a width of 6 meters or 19 feet 8 inches, making it about 1.5 times the width of the ETA 2. You'll see why it got the nickname the Muckraker, and it would be one of the last additions to the droid army, though why it was added may be more for profit than for tactical considerations. As this quote from the Techno Union's LM-432 Risk Assessment Report reads, "Crab droids have subpar targeting percentage, but deliver a profit of 48,000 credits per unit. They might not win the war, but they could save the Techno Union's fiscal quarter." So the evil Gumby folks might be one of the most realistic things in all of Star Wars. But to be fair, it was inspired by the flaws of the Spider droid, which was produced by Bactoid. But the Spider had many environmental failures related to navigating swampy and Arctic conditions, having issues in everything from their scanners to their motivators, and many different members of the CIS would contribute parts to bring the Crab Droid to life, with techs being able to see the fingerprints of companies from the Trade Federation to the Hyper Communications Cartel, but with it being completed and shipped out by the Techno Union. One of the most interesting features, though there are sadly no images of it, is that there are 8 different sizes of the Crab Droid. Somewhat like the Spider assassin probes, there was a tiny crab intended for espionage that could scurry about relatively undetected, all the way up to enormous ones that were larger than an ATTE that could batter down enemy defenses from walls to siege doors, to others that had Gungan-made bubble warp projectors, which when fired rendered even Jedi completely immobile, and could be used to block exits, lock down cities, and jam up vehicles. But these that we see most are the mid-size heavy infantry series, which were covered in thick armor, rated to stop endless barrages of small arms fire. The very first time they were deployed was during the Second Battle of Jabim.
This next one goes out to the mutt jumpers of the 224th, slugging it out on Mimbom. Keep your heads down and your seals tight, boys.
And they would show off the Separatist ability to create a large array of customized gear and weapons. Many of the versions fielded on the mud-covered world came equipped with insulated vacuum pump systems, placed inside of their forward pincers, which were complex assemblies of tubing and spray nozzles that could suck up mud and spray it out, flipping the environmental conditions on their head, clearing a path for themselves and other CIS units, while making it rain mud on the Republic forces, creating the once thought impossible situation where a trooper was suddenly covered in even more mud. Hell for the organic clones, but also for the machinery and technology, everything from the optic systems of walkers and tanks to comms and repulsors. Tales of this horror is what gave it the name Muckraker, but in the end it ended up being applied to all 8 versions of the Crab. What all these 8 had in common was the same design of 6 heavily armored limbs with powerful motivators to allow it to punch through the thickest rock and scale any terrain, even hanging upside down like the chameleon droids. Duranium teeth were on the tips of the limbs, along with the prongs to grip on each of the elbow joints. These 3 points could pinch together and sort of dig in and hang off of things, so it made it a truly all-terrain unit. These 3 eyes, or dots on its face, are the sensor bulb, targeting rangefinder, and backup photoreceptor, while these antennae allow it to be in constant contact with other droid units and commanders, be they T-Series or organic allies. This is one of those units that is more impressive for its ability to scale and alter the environment, playing more of a support role, but they did have a pair of blaster cannons slung beneath its central body. Though most clones did confirm that internal report, noticing that these crabs couldn't hit the broadside of a Venator. This made them little more than paperweights in the eyes of Republic troopers, and being stripped of their intended creepy or intimidating battlefield appearance, some brave clones would simply rush them and exploit a weakness shared throughout the GAR, which said that these crabs had a weak point just behind the head. Oh, they had to be careful as the crabs were quick on their feet and were known to run down and simply stomp troopers to death, being far quicker than clones could run on foot in full armor. After Jabim, they would be seen during the Rhodia occupation. Rhodian Senator Anaconda Farr was compelled to enter into agreement with Trade Federation Viceroy Newt Gunray, who of course was secretly aligned with the Separatists. Under the pretense of providing protection, Separatist forces, including Crab Droids, briefly took control of the senatorial residence on Rhodia. During this occupation, Representative Jar Jar Binks, Senator Padme Amidala, and her protocol droid C-3PO were sent to Rhodia to discuss the Republic's assistance. Amidala was captured by Gunray's droids shortly after arrival, Meanwhile in the hangar, Binks and C-3PO encountered battle droids and a Crab Droid that charged at Binks, firing its blaster cannon. Binks took cover as C-3PO directed him from above. The Crab Droid accidentally flung Binks onto its back while trying to shake him off, leading to its loss of balance and it falling into the swamp below. The Gungan managed to cling to the edge, avoiding being pulled down with the droid. During the Battle of Malastare, many of the LM-432s could be seen marching along with traditional B-1s, B-2s, and dwarf spider droids. But this visually impressive force was ultimately annihilated by the Republic's experimental electro-proton bomb. Because of the incredibly rough terrain at this citadel, many of them could be seen on Lola Seiyu, a Republic infiltration team consisting of Kenobi, Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, and Cody was sent to rescue Even Peel and Wilf Tarkin, encountering many of these crab droids during their escape. Kenobi's team was ambushed by them on the airfield, with the crab dropping down to block their retreat, while simultaneously Skywalker's team traversed a fuel line to reach their rendezvous point, facing more security forces and crab droids upon exiting. Skywalker's quick thinking to throw a thermal detonator into a pipe destroyed a crab droid and allowed them to advance. The two reunited on the airfield only to be met with even more crabs, where Fives would cover Echo as he destroyed one with a well-placed charge. After escaping the prison complex, they saw just how adept these droids were at climbing along a wall. Cody would have to jump onto one and deactivate it by pumping it full of plasma, and trapped by a cliff overlooking a river of lava, they grappled down to another ledge while R2-D2's reprogrammed battle droids delayed their pursuers, though they were quickly overcome. Later, more crab units would ambush the group at the cliff's edge, killing a clone officer and nearly another. Peel severed 3 of a crab droid's legs and destroyed its photoreceptor, while Tano and Peel stayed behind to combat more droids, Tano deflecting blaster shots and Teal bisecting another. The remaining 2 crab droids were finished off by the Jedi. Eventually, this group was extracted by gunship, successfully escaping despite another onslaught from more than 24 crab droids swarming the landing site. As the Clone Wars drew to a close, the last time we see them is during the Battle of Utapau, against the Republic's 212th Attack Battalion and Pau'an warriors. During the battle, we see one of the bravest soldiers in the entire GAR jumping onto a crab droid's back and initiating a rapid decommission. And after the Republic became the Empire, tens of thousands of crab droids were seized from the Techno-Union's factory on Tar Morden. The ultimate fate of this strange and fascinating unit would see them end up being used in live-fire stormtrooper training exercises on Karaida, which, if you like making fun of the stormtrooper accuracy, it's pretty hilarious that a droid that was known for its subpar targeting percentage would be used as target practice for stormtroopers. Though it may have a far more grand ending, if you consider that the Karaidan engineers drew upon their experience with the crab droids in developing the MT-AT Spider Walker, the mountain terrain armored transport that's truly one of the strangest and most fear-inducing units ever produced by the Empire. So that's it for its history, and as for behind-the-scenes facts, the only thing we have is that the design of the crab droid stems from the transformed tank droid concepts dating back to the summer of 2002 by Ryan Church, who was one of the main prequel concept artists. The final shape was mostly there in a sketch called The Droid Soldiers. If you want to read more on it, a lot of these details came from Ultimate Star Wars, the Visual Encyclopedia, and mostly the Essential Guide to Droids. Please hit that like button, it's the best way to help me out. Subscribe to see more, and check out our other videos, I'm sure you'll like them. But most important of all, remember, no matter the species, war is a racket, and the Force will be with you, always.